Thanks, Joey. I think we're still waiting on a couple more members to get on so we can have quorum.
I want to wait on one more. Ben, do we want to wait on one more, or do we want to just go ahead and get started?
We can come back to the action items, but if you want to go ahead and proceed, I think that's fine.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and good afternoon, everyone. We'll go ahead and call things to order. Due to the governor's recent order, all members of the Public Assembly Facilities Commission are participating virtually. For virtual meetings, commission members will be muted until asked to be heard. At that time, they will be recognized and will be unmuted. When there is a vote, it will be necessary to take a roll call vote. A commission member will be recognized and will raise their hand and state their vote. Today's meeting is a public meeting for the notice posted on June 11th, 2020. Citizens can listen to the meeting if they contacted the city manager's office to make the necessary arrangements. The meeting will also be live streamed on the city's YouTube channel and can be accessed at the city's website. According to will be available by Friday, June 19th, also on the city's website. Thank you so much, everyone. Rachel, could we get a roll call, please?
There was an email sent out earlier this week from JB Bank saying that he is stepping down from the commission, so he will not be included in our roll call. Jill, I don't believe she's here. Haley.
Here.
Otis Northington. Otis is here, but it looks like he's muted.
Here.
Billy Rich.
Here.
Jim Rose. Does not look like he's here. Manya Stewart.
Here.
Kathleen Garber. Does not look like she's here. Vicki Miller. Doesn't look like she's here either. All right, that's everybody.
Thank you, Rachel. Since we don't have a quorum at the moment, we'll go ahead and go to the items that don't need a vote. So we'll start with the introduction of Kelly Curl.
Yeah, hey, I'll jump in on that, guys. Kelly Curl is with us today. He is the new general manager and president of the Carolina Thunderbirds. They brought him on a few weeks ago, so we're excited to work with him and see what he brings to the facility in the city. And I'm going to kick it to him to kind of just introduce himself, and then we'll go from there. Kelly?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Curl, the new GM and president for the Carolina Thunderbirds. I've actually been with the organization since day one, when it was just Scott in the building, and I had kind of met him over the summer. And I've been involved with the team in different roles as a player on their media broadcast broadcasting end of things, as well as some of the coaching stuff. I was with the team last year through the championship run, and I've been involved with the office now for a few weeks, just trying to help get things moving in the right direction. Since we had the leaving of Jimmy Milliken back in the January-ish time period. Really excited to be here. I'm excited to be a part of the program. I'm a product of North Carolina, from here, and I couldn't be more proud to be part of the organization moving forward over the few years. So thank you guys for having us, and we really appreciate all you guys do to make sure we get to facilitate and offer a great product to the fans and the crowd, and just the people of Winston. And it's been a very humbling experience to be a part of it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly. We're so glad you're here, and welcome to the group. It looks like we have a quorum now, so we will go ahead and begin our items that we need to vote on. I do want to thank everyone, thank Rachel and their team for getting us the minutes last month. If we could get a motion to approve the minutes for the May meeting.
This is Manya. I so move that we accept the minutes from last month.
This is Otis, second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any question? All in favor? We'll do this via roll call.
It'll have to be a roll call.
Haley? Haley?
Aye.
Otis?
Aye.
Tanya? Billy?
Aye.
Kathleen?
Aye.
And I believe that's everyone who's here.
Thank you, Rachel. That motion is passed. We will move on to the resolution approving the extension of the contract for the Carolina Thunderbirds and the LLC to provide food and beverage services at the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds and other city facilities.
Thank you, Haley. I'll take that one as well. This is a resolution approving an extension to the contract agreement with the Carolina Thunderbirds LLC to provide concession services for Winston-Salem Fairgrounds, Fulton Pool, and Winston Lake Golf Course. As you guys know, back in January, I believe you approved an agreement to extend their current contract 6 months through June 30th. And that was a result of some of the audit findings that we went through with the city. And we provided that feedback to the Thunderbirds, and they have implemented and satisfied our concerns that were brought up at that time period. So this resolution will be to extend, as it's written in the original contract, to 1 year, 12-month periods. And that's what we're looking for at this point.
Thank you, Robert. Are there any questions for Robert at this time?
Hey, Robert, I saw the two PDFs. One was the measure items and then the response from the Thunderbirds. And I think I may have just been looking at the first one where it was talking about the client surveys being in the 3s, and that was the minimum, but the response back that I guess is measurement 3, that the client surveys since 2017 have all come back at 4 or higher. And one, just asking, how do we do those surveys? And that seems like a really good result and an improvement.
Yeah, thank you, Otis, for that question. So we provide surveys to all of our clients. So at the conclusion of an event, Rachel will send out a survey link through SurveyMonkey to whatever client is in the building that weekend. And I believe there's 7 to 10 questions, and it just focuses on how is our staff, how was the contract process, how were concessions. So just kind of general information. We find that people provide more honest feedback that way rather than me calling them saying, how was everything? Because everything's always good when I ask. But then when they get the email, they're a little more open and forthright with coming forward with info. So we send those out, and yeah, since the end of the year, we've had no issues with food and beverage surveys. I mean, obviously, as we know, they were cut short by about 3 months due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but everything from January through March was good. So we have no concerns on that front right now.
So when you say the client, you're not talking about the person who bought the ticket. You're talking about perhaps the person who brought in the entertainment
Correct.
event. So in the Thunderbirds, and you would be calling the Thunderbirds on how they did in their own, and they'll take care of that. But other groups that have come in and have rented the facilities, that's the client that you're surveying.
Correct. Yeah. So when the gun show rents the facility, they get the survey, and it's how was their experience overall with the food and beverage service. So we get real good feedback from those, and they have a good. I mean, they're on site the whole time, so they have a good feel for interactions with all of our employees and the concessions folks, and they provide a lot of good info, and I think it's really helped kind of our processes overall to get that kind of feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And I'll just also add real quick, if there's any other questions, Kelly and Christy Tate with Thunderbirds Food and Beverage are both on this call. So if anyone has any questions for them, they're here.
Any further questions? If there be none, could we get a motion to extend the contract for Carolina Thunderbirds?
This is Kathleen. Motion to approve.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any question? All in favor, and we'll vote via roll call.
Just to double check, who made the second? Was it Billy?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Haley,
Aye.
Otis,
Aye.
Manya, Billy,
Aye.
Kathleen.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That motion passes. We'll move on to the review of the fiscal year 2019-2020 third quarter financial statements.
Okay, there we go. Huge. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Commission. I hope everybody's having a great day. The first statements that we will review are the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds statements. And the first area we'll look at here is the operating revenues, and I want you to compare the March 31st, 2020 actuals to the March 31st, 2019 actuals. Revenues at this point in time are $4,094,451 compared to last year at this point in time, $4,062,211, which were, fairly much even. Just notes are, you'll see this when we get to the Carolina Classic Fair. The revenues were a little bit down in the Carolina Classic Fair compared to last year. That's because it's comparing the 2018 fair, which was a no rain event, to the 2019 fair, which was a one-day rain event. So the Carolina Classic year over year was a little bit less in revenue. However, the non-fair events were up about $225,000 this year as compared to last year. So they kind of net out. So the revenues are very comparable year to year at this point in time at March 31st. You can scroll down to the expenditure section of the statements. That's good. If you look in the expenditures, we're up a little bit, 3.6 million to 3.4 million. But bottom line, if you'll scroll all the way to the bottom, our operating or our change in our net position at June 30, 2000, or not June, excuse me, March 31st, 2020 is 353,000 versus 608. And it's exactly the same as I mentioned before. It's the revenues and expenditures a little better at the non-fair at this point in time, and not as much as Carolina Classic, but $254,000 difference. So at March 31st, things are still looking pretty good. It's still prior to COVID, and I'm sure that Robert Ben will talk about the fair, non-fair events more later, but at March 31st, things were okay.
If I could just add one thing real quick, Lisa, if you go back and look at the operating expenditures, I think maybe one of the line items that might grab your eye would be contractual services, going from $1,280,000 to $1,466,000. And I think a lot of that's driven by the fact that we deployed the metal detectors for the first time. Cheryl and Robert, correct me if I'm wrong. So we did have to increase our staffing a bit to be able to do that.
Okay. If there's no questions, I'll go to the Carolina Classic Fair. Again, March 31st, 2020 versus March 31st, 2019. You'll see exactly what I said before. Our revenues are a little bit less at this point in time. They were $3,293,240 in 19, and at the end of March and 20, they were $3.1 million. Again, just, the rain date makes all the difference in the world. Go down to the expenditure section. Our expenditures are 1.9 million versus 1.7 last year. It's really the changes here. It's the contractual are up for a little bit. But you can also see personnel services are down. So that tells you use more temp services than you did actually staffing at that point in time. And if you go all the way bottom line, change in the net position, we're at 1,362,000 last year versus 993,000 this year. Any questions? Okay. Next statement should be Bowman Gray Stadium. Again, we are measuring our revenues 2020 versus 2019, and they look good. Total revenues $249,254 versus $199 last year at this point in time. Most of that is in concessions and parking revenue for Bowman Gray. If you go to expenditures, we're a little bit less in expenditures at this point in time, $373,895 versus $55,923. And then bottom line at Bowman Gray, don't have quite as much loss at this point in time this year, $164,147 versus $220,000.
Just to add to Lisa's explanation there, so this is through March. So we had incurred some expenses to start prepping the stadium for racing, but obviously the season, which obviously hasn't started, there wouldn't be any reflection of that. But this does reflect what we realized during the 2019 Winston-Salem State football season and the remainder of racing last year. So just want to make note of that.
Okay. And then the final statement that we have is Benton Convention Center, just very high level, revenues year to date are pretty much where they were last year. And I'll let Grant speak to all of this. We were having a great year until COVID. And at the general fund supports is changed about 100,000, but I'm just going to turn it over to Grant and let him talk more specifically about the convention center at this point.
Good afternoon. So if you look at this is the third quarter. If you compare the third quarter, we actually go month to month. So we're back in the third quarter, $64,000 in revenue, $134,000 in house profit, and so that obviously we haven't had an event. So we lost $492,000 in revenue in March. So we were affected by the COVID-19. If you look at year to date, as Lisa showed earlier, we were so far ahead through the first 6 months of the year that we were still ahead in revenues year to date, $382,000 and up $53,000 in house profit. So we haven't had an event, and there's not a plan for an event through the end of the year at this point. But this is the loss of all the groups. We've had groups cancel all the way into November due to COVID. Most of those are education groups. They don't know if they're going to be in school this year. They don't know if there's going to even be funding for for groups. So, and until the governor unveils phase 3 or phase 4, wherever the large venues fall, it's going to be hard for us to really pinpoint the number. Right now, we've lost $1.8 million in revenue due to COVID. Any questions for me?
And that's all I have for financials. If anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Lisa. We will now move on to the status of the Carolina Classic Fair.
Thank you, Haley. Oh, sorry. Right now, it's pretty much like the last meeting. If everyone was here, we're still looking for guidance from the state and the governor on what phase and how the phase will progress. We did have a fair planning committee last week, and when I told them pretty much the same thing. Once we have the information, we'll definitely pass it along. The Fair Planning Committee is now meeting once a month instead of every other. So hopefully, once I have the information, I will get that out there to you. We are still continuing our discussions with other fairs in the state and also attending our IFE meetings that are online. And also, Robert attended our state meeting for me last week. I was unavailable. He can, Robert, if you want to jump in and discuss what was said in there.
Yeah, sure. I believe that was Wednesday afternoon. Thanks, Cheryl. And so just kind of a recap is, in general, a lot of the other fairs are in the same boat as us, kind of just waiting on that guidance, planning as we can with the expectation of what it might look like if we do open a fair. A lot of them talked about having virtual livestock shows and or also actually having just livestock shows. So even if the fair got canceled, there would still be support for kind of the junior livestock areas. That's kind of one of the key points with junior livestock is they really rely on the fair recognition to advance their goals in that field. So we found out also last week that the state of West Virginia is going to have their fair. I believe that's mid to late August, possibly. And it's possibly looking like Delaware is going to have their fair. So the good news there is we'll have some kind of semblance of what needs to be done to open a fair. The difference is the state of West Virginia is seeing 30 new cases of COVID a day in the whole state. And West Virginia is seeing 60 new cases of COVID a day in the whole state. North Carolina and Forsyth County kind of topple those numbers over. So we're kind of in a different boat than them. So we're just kind of see what the governor rolls out with as we progress. And Cheryl and I are working on these plans to what does a smaller fair look like, or does it not look like that? Do you want to compromise integrity of our large fair by doing some of these smaller things and getting rid of certain attractions and pieces, and then just having social distancing plans and extra cleaning stations, and are masks required? Are they not required? So there's a lot of those little things that we're looking at now, and just seeing if that happens, what we'll be able to do. And that's it.
Let me just add to that discussion a bit. So the budget that the council will be considering tonight assumes a 25% reduction in attendance and revenue. I think some folks might be a little concerned. That might not be conservative enough. And so Robert and I have been working with the budget office staff on running different scenarios to see just kind of what the financial impact would be. I will share with you that we have looked at a financial scenario where we don't hold the fair. And if we were to do that right now, I mean, we would estimate that we would lose $670,000. So current budget shows that we would realize net income of about $350,000 or $340,000. If we didn't have the fair, we would lose $670,000. So it's be about $1 million swing to the negative by not holding the fair. And if we do that, looking at our fairgrounds fund reserves, that would pretty well deplete the reserves in the fund. So I want to share that with you all, that we're looking at, all the different potential impacts of, holding the fair or not holding the fair. I mean, ultimately, we want to do whatever we feel like is safest, to the public and to the vendors and all those who are involved. But we'll be continuing to update you all on what we're learning, what we're hearing. I think, Cheryl, I'm not sure that you noted this, but we're thinking, based on conversations that the staff has had with, the industry groups, that type of thing, that people probably, need to make a go, no-go decision. Was about a month and a half or so out from the fair.
Looking at other fairs is a month and a half to 2 months out. That would put us right around the August 1st, August 15th area. I think that you really need to keep to that type of schedule in order just to, for planning on all ends.
So in terms of time frame, as Cheryl noted, the Fair Planning Committee is now meeting monthly. If we're looking at a go, no go in August, we'll probably, be asking you all to meet in July as well. Sometimes I know we haven't, the commission hasn't held a meeting in July. But I think in terms of the criticality of this decision, we'll probably have you all meet in July as well. And look to both the Fair Planning Committee and the Public Assembly Facility Commission to make a recommendation to council. It'll be the mayor and the council's call whether we actually hold the fair or not. We just feel like this, large event and the impacts, both financial and otherwise, that this is probably a call that the mayor and council will ultimately make based on the recommendation from the Fair Planning Committee and the Public Assembly Facility Commission. So I think, I think we will be, briefing you all further in July, looking for some guidance from you all in July as we're looking towards this decision. I think that the governor's phase order is supposed to, at the end of this month, and potentially go to phase 3, but we have no idea what phase 3 will involve, what restrictions would be relaxed, that type of thing. As Robert noted, we are, Forsyth County is in a different place than West Virginia or Delaware. You probably all read the article in the paper today that even the White House now is kind of looking at us and asking questions about what's happening here in North Carolina, and more specifically in some of our counties, including Forsyth County. So a lot of unknowns, and we want to, make sure we're weighing all of our options so that we can make the most informed decision that'll be the safest decision for those folks who would attend the fair. Any other questions, thoughts? We're open to ideas. Fair Planning Committee, put forward some ideas, about a rescaled fair and what that would potentially involve and look like. And we are open to your thoughts, and we want to hear your thoughts about what we need to be thinking about as we're looking towards making, recommending a decision.
Ben, I just had a question about the timing of the decision. I kind of remember from last year with going through the name of the fair that there's some period of time that city council generally doesn't meet. Is that the month of July or the month of August?
That's correct, July.
It's July. Okay, just thinking if we were going to have to make the decision in August, would they be able to make that call and be available with that? So
Now, that's a very good question, Kathleen. And I think, I mean, the timing might be a little bit get that final decision from council, but I think that's what we would be, I think, working towards is the two groups, making some kind of recommendation. to council for their consideration in August.
One thing I would like to add, I offered this up to the Fair Planning Committee also. Our International Association, our IFE, the Fair Association, has some great resources and information on there regarding opening of all amusements. And I think I'm going to be able to give you all access. I would just need pretty much your email address, and then I can get you passwords and things like that if you're interested in that type of thing. And that way you can also become like a sub-member of the fair on that association. If any of y'all would like that, just please contact Rachel or me, send me your email address, and I will see about getting you added on. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you all. Thank you all for that report. We'll move into the staff updates now.
Thanks, Haley. It looks like I'll jump in on the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds. Just like last month, we still remain closed from the March 15th, March 14th timeframe. So even if you go back to the financial statements, as Lisa mentioned, there was about 3 weekends worth of activity that we did lose on the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds side. Our total since that March 15th weekend, as far as losses, is $424,000. And as of now, before hearing the next governor's order, we're slated to reopen on July 6th, and we'll revisit what that might look like based on the most recent order. But we do have a gun show scheduled July 11th. We've got a collectible card show July 18th. So a couple of events we're hoping to have, but we just don't know at this point. One event that looks like we will be moving forward is a drive-in theater out on the Midway. We got clearance to operate with that. And depending on the phase, people would need to stay in their car. But essentially, we can hold 300 cars out on the Midway. And we're working with a promoter who's going to offer movies Tuesday through Saturday nights, about 8:30 p.m. And hopefully we will announce that this week. That's not been announced yet, but kind of just working through the details and the logistics of making sure it's something we can do in this state that we're in. So we will open that regardless, most likely on July, I believe 7th will be the first drive-in night. And that will run all the way through September 15th, Tuesday through Saturday. And of course, fair dependent. It may go longer if the fair ends up getting canceled, but that's kind of where we're at on the fairgrounds front. So as of now, all staff is still working from home. We have some rotating office schedules if you need to enter the office. And then we'll probably come back to work that July 6th week on a rotating schedule, but still half staff working from home on alternating days. And that's all I have, I think. Any questions from the fairground side?
This is Manya. Will the drive-in be free or is it going to be a cost?
There is a cost. The fellow who's working on that is still working through pricing. I believe it's going to be somewhere around $8 to $10 per person. And with that being said, we have all kinds of implemented measures to limit any contact at all as you come to our event. So we'll be using Ticketmaster as our ticketing platform, and there will be no touch entry. You can purchase your tickets online. You can show your phone. We'll scan it without touching, and then you can just go park in your parking space. We're also working with our concessions folks on implementing an application where you can order your concessions food through the app. You stay in your car, and we will deliver touch-free process to your car. And if that's all you need, and when you come out to the drive-in, then you're in good shape. You can enter, You can get your food and you can leave without getting anywhere near another contact. So, and that's our goal with this, to make everyone feel safe and provide a product at the same time.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Robert. We're going to move on to Bowman Gray.
So I'll take that one. So the project team has been working on the design. We're now in what's called the design development phase of the project, which means we've got more details developed. We've gone from schematic to what's called schematic design to design development. But the next step will be working on construction drawings. So I anticipate that since we'll most likely meet in July, that I'll probably invite the architects to come and give you all a presentation on the project, the scope of the project. They've already developed some renderings, which I'm really excited about. So, just in broad strokes, I mean, we're planning to construct 2 new restroom facilities, large restroom facilities, that will significantly increase the number of units for the women's restroom, which is much needed. Also, we'll be constructing 2 new concession stands. And so what you see up on the concourse now, when this project is over, will be for the most part demolished, except for the 2 press boxes and a small storage facility. So it'll be a very different looking concourse, but we're very, very excited about that. Also planning to redo the football field and resurface the track, and make some improvements in the field house, particularly with HVAC. Make some upgrades to our utilities, in particular our water, so that we have sufficient water pressure, which has been a real issue down there, particularly when we've had high attendance events like Ladies' Night during racing season and homecoming during Winston-Salem State football season. So we'll have the project team in hopefully in July and give you all a really good briefing on where we are. Our hope is to take what's called the guaranteed maximum price, so what the construction is going to cost us, but to take that proposal to the council probably in September, which means that we would bring the item to you all for your review and recommendation, hopefully in August. And so you all would do that due diligence, and then make a recommendation to the mayor and council, and then they would approve it, hopefully, like I said, in September, maybe October. And then hopefully after that, once we've done that and all the contract documents are signed, we can get in there and start working. The project team at one point had contemplated the possibility that if we didn't have racing and we didn't have football, and they got into the stadium, in September or October, that they could potentially do the whole project before the start of racing in 2021. Because when they schedule it out, if it's uninterrupted, it's about an 8-month project. Because the original plan was to phase it. That's why it's stretched out over 3 years. But now that's still unknown whether there'll be football. I think that now they've gone back to really looking at more of the phased approach to the project. So some work will be done in the fall and the early part of 2021 to get at least, I think, 1 restroom constructed, and then they'll just continue to move forward with the rest of the project during racing and during football. So obviously there'll be a lot of coordination involved in that. But anyway, just wanted to say that we will try to bring them in July and just give you an overview and share with you some renderings so you can really see a visual of what we're planning.
Excellent. Thank you, Ben, for that. Carolina Classic Fair facility branding.
Yeah, I'll take that one. Right now, we are proceeding with changing all of our signage. We have the cattle barn logo changed. We have the grandstand painted. The logo is not yet on the grandstand, but that will happen very soon. We have just contracted with a local company to replace the neon signage at the northwest gate that faces the Coliseum. And that's a really neat design. I'm looking forward to seeing that when it's completed. We do also, we're getting quotes now on the signage that is on Shore Fair Drive. The brick columns that are out there, it does say Dixie Classic Fair, and we're changing that to the Carolina Classic Fair on one side, Winston-Salem Fairgrounds on the other, so that way the whole facility is branded there. And we're also working on changing out the street banners that will hang up and down University once the fair happens. Has anybody got any questions on that?
Excellent. Thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
Moving on to the Benton.
Well, I can give you a little bit of an update. We've been adding sanitizing stations here in the Benton. We have almost 60 hand sanitizing stations here in the building and ready to go. We've been putting signage up all around for social distancing. We're getting ready for whenever the day is we can open. Right now, there's still a couple groups in July that are still on the fence, but you know, we don't think that they will come because the number will be higher than we believe that phase 3 will allow. Again, we're still booking. You know, we booked a wedding for August for 200 or 400 people, but 200 in each room. So we'll see if that how that goes. But our sales staff is still booking things and trying to. It's just the unknown is what's making it really hard for us right now. It's just not knowing when we can open and how we can open. But we are preparing the building now for so we can hit the road running when the governor opens the doors. Be glad to answer any questions about bookings or anything like that.
I will share that the city is potentially going to utilize the Winston Ballroom space. We currently have it set up for the Emergency Operations Center, and you know, we're just kind of feeling our way through. You know, we continue to hold virtual meetings across, whether it's the City Council or the City County Planning Board or the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and right now it looks like that the Planning Board and the Zoning Boards of Adjustment may hold in-person meetings, and so Grant has worked very hard to help against the Winston Ballroom set to where if we decide to host in-person meetings, then we'll be able to do that at the Benton. In fact, I mean, for tonight's council meeting originally, we were planning to hold it in person at the Benton. And then, but those plans have changed. We're now holding it virtually. So just, you know, it's just, you know, the times, you know, just kind of feeling our way through. But you know, Grant has been a big help to supporting the city and possibly doing some in-person meetings here in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Ben. We go to the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds Farmers Market.
I'll take that one also. The farmers market is doing very well. We are inside. The social distancing rules do still apply. This would be the 4th week, I think, that since reopening. Talking to Willie, great crowds. It is still vegetables and essential products only. We don't have our crafters back yet or any type of entertainment. We'll see how that goes as the phases progress. But overall, I think the community in general has been supporting it nicely during these past few weeks.
Cheryl, can you speak about the mural that was just completed?
Yes, the mural has been completed. Hieronymus, in fact, I've seen a couple emails come through. I think he may be at the farmers market within the next couple weekends to meet the artist. Those murals, if you haven't been by, you need to go by there and look at them. They are wonderful. We could probably send you some pictures of them. We don't have them on the attachments for today's meeting, but I can get those to you. That looks really good, both sides. Very unique, very colorful. I think it makes the farmer's market really stand out.
Yeah, there was also an article that was done in the journal, I believe yesterday. So
Okay.
it's a good article there with some pictures of the artists and the work. It's a really, really sharp mural that he did on both sides of the building. So he did 2 individual murals. And then we also put up a new sign on the street. We've got a new kind of old wooden sign with the old letters that slide in and out, so we can, brand each weekend as necessary once we get into kind of the event schedule down there.
That's great news. Thank you all for that update. Looks like we've come to the end of our agenda for today. Our next meeting will be July 20th. Thank you all so much for your time today. Is there any other question or any last comments before we adjourn? If not,
I just want to thank everybody. I know this is a tough time for the staff, and just, hats off. I know you're dealing with a difficult situation, so thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yes, I agree with Otis. Thank you all for what you're doing. And if there is nothing else, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.